Good morning, and welcome to the most diverse news station in America. I'm Jackson Ollinger.
I'm Fred Mitchell.
I'm Elizabeth Taylor.
I'm Max Gill.
And I'm Haley Berry.
And welcome to
Controversy Daily.
Today we will be focusing all our time seemingly unavoidable movement, abolition.
This abolition of slavery sounds quite radical, does it not?
Now, it is possible.
He wasn't saying that. Max was just pointing out how difficult, especially for the South, full abolition would be.
It's 1833, for goodness sake.
I know. But take a look at the South's economy. They rely on agriculture alone to stabilize them.
That's right. Even the strict social laws that they have in place separate the slaves from every other person. I mean, down there, they're taught that even though they may be poor and not own slaves themselves, that they would still be above somebody.
Really? My goodness, that's terrible.
Oh, it sure is. You take away the only labor force in the South and boom, the economy collapses.
The Three-Fifths Compromise doesn't help the situation either. Although southern states have advantage in the House of Representatives, with 3/5 of slaves counted as part of the population for representation, they will not easily give up that hold of control.
You're right, they won't. But organizations and groups have begun to spring up in protest of slavery.
Fred, didn't you interview William Garrison earlier this week?
William Lloyd Garrison. Yes, I did.
Which group is he affiliated with again?
The American Anti-Slavery Society, or AASS for short.
Well, let's roll that clip to see what Mr. Garrison has to say about his organization.
Here I have William Lloyd Garrison, an abolitionist, journalist, and founder of the American Anti-Slavery Society.
And you can't forget a suffragist.
I have no idea what that is, but okay.
Don't worry, it'll catch on sooner or later.
I'm sure it will, William. So tell us about the AASS.
We don't align ourselves with any particular political party. Anyone is welcome to join, including women. We advocate for the immediate emancipation of all slaves and stress nonviolence and passive resistance.
That's radical.
Well, as I said in my newspaper, The Liberator, I do not wish to think or speak or write in moderation. I am earnest, I will not equivocate, I will not excuse, and I will not retreat a single inch, and I will be heard.
Well, William, we do hear you. So tell us about the American Colonization Society.
I no longer associate myself with them. They're just terrible. They've gone...
Fred, you weren't supposed to bring up the American Colonization Society.
Well, how was I supposed to know that he had such a strong dislike for them?
Everyone knows that. The American Colonization Society was founded in 1817 by Minister Robert Finley. He believed there needed to be a Christian transfer of slaves from America back to Africa.
It almost sounds as if this was a white apology to black slaves.
Well, apparently Mr. Garrison identified with this group when it was first starting to grow, but then later founded the American Anti-Slavery Society in order to create the call for immediate abolition.
Doesn't he also support racial equality?
Yes, he does. His founded group sends out speakers around the country and publishes slave stories. Not to mention, he has his own newspaper titled The Liberator.
Well, I've heard that the Liberator denounces the Compromise of 1850, condemns the Kansas-Nebraska Act, damned the Dred Scott decision, and hailed John Brown's raid as God's method of dealing retribution upon the head of tyrant.
Yes, all those things appear to have been published.
Well, he seems to be making a great impression on society.
But this push for immediate abolition seems almost impossible.
I agree with you, Elizabeth. The slave population in the South is much too large for immediate abolition. Just think of it, all those slaves would be unemployed, uneducated, and have no money and no home.
Well, maybe Garrison began to realize that too, for he also was one of the first original members of the New England Anti-Slavery Society, or the NEASS. This group advocates for a gradual end to slavery and allows African Americans to join.
I have here the original preamble of the New England Anti-Slavery Society, and I quote, "Whereas we believe that slavery is contrary to the precepts of Christianity, dangerous to the liberties of the country, and ought immediately to be abolished, and whereas we believe that the citizens of New England not only have the right to protest against it, but are under the highest obligation to seek its removal by a moral influence. And whereas we believe that the free people of color are unrighteously oppressed and stand in need of our sympathy and benevolent cooperation. Therefore, recognizing the inspired declaration that God hath made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and in obedience to our Savior's golden rule, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. We agree to form ourselves into a society.
That was truly beautiful, Fred.
Well, we can't mention all these great anti-slavery organizations without mentioning the Pennsylvania Abolition Society,
The what?
the PAS. They've been around for a while, but just recently desegregated. They were the first of all the abolition organizations to form. Petitions, court cases, and social reform. The PAS seeks to end slavery and improve the situation of free African Americans living in the United States. They reflect on conservative faith and elite action.
Well, that's a group I can get behind.
Well, moving on. Another person stirring up trouble is a Mr. David Walker.
Oh yes, he's an ex-slave that wrote a book, right?
Yep, that would be him. His book is entitled The Appeal. It was published in 1829, but even today still stirs up trouble.
Well, this book is a landmark in black protest literature.
Very true, Fred. I believe Haley was able to catch him walking down the road, were you not?
I was. He was quite hostile, though.
Then I can't wait to see it. Roll the clip.
Hopefully we can catch up to David Walker to get a comment from him on his new book, Appeal. Oh, I think I can see him. Excuse me, David? Mr. Walker? Hi, sorry, do you mind telling me your motivation on writing Appeal?
Absolutely, just like you didn't mind when you made my people slaves. My goal was to instill pride in all the black readers out there, to give them hope that change would someday come. Like I said in my book, Appeal, America is more our country than it is the whites. We have enriched it with our blood and tears. Will they drive us from our property and our homes, which we have earned with our blood?
That's a great question.
There you have it, straight from the man himself.
Did you know that he has been Boston's leading spokesman against slavery since 1828?
That's wonderful. His pamphlet has begun to inspire and instill a sense of pride and hope in the slaves we have in the South today.
Yes, but did you also hear that the whites in the South have initiated laws to forbade blacks from learning to read and have now banned the distribution of anti-slavery literature? I've even heard rumors that they are offering a $3,000 reward for Walker's head and $10,000 to anybody that can bring him to the South alive.
Well, I pray those only be rumors.
We must not make light the burden that each abolitionist bears.
No, we must not. That's why we here are grateful to have interviewed another educated African American, Frederick Douglass. He was born a slave, but escaped at the age of 20. He learned to read and write. He's been traveling the country, lecturing abolitionist society. What he speaks on in this up-close and personal interview is his narrative, the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. It is a powerful work of literature that has been selling thousands of copies and introduces readers to the first-hand horrors of slavery.
Thankfully, I was able to talk with him about it. Take a look here. Okay, today we got a special close-up with Frederick Douglass today about his book, his narrative on his life of Frederick Douglass.
To quote from my narrative, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men who want crops without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical. But it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will.
What powerful words.
He's right, too. The struggle for abolition is great.
Even Congress pushes against abolitionists. They have begun to refuse to consider even print memorials and petitions of citizens on the subject of abolition.
They have blocked discussion of slavery at the national as well as the state level by imposing the gag rule.
Well, it seems that even though Congress won't hear of abolition, women have begun to speak up in support of it. Angelina and Sarah Grimke are two great Southern women who grew up in South Carolina and had first-hand experience with the institution of slavery and its daily horrors.
They travel the country speaking to many crowds and informing them the sins of slavery. Angelina is known for her captivating voice, while Sarah is mainly recognized for her literature.
Elizabeth, didn't you go listen to Angelina speak at the Pennsylvania Hall not too long ago?
Yes, I did, and we were able to capture some of the captivating words. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and here are Angelina and Sarah Grimke now at Pennsylvania.
As a Southerner, I feel that it is my duty to stand up here tonight and bear testimony against slavery. I have seen it. I have seen it. I know it has horrors that can never be described. I was brought up under its wing. I witnessed for many years its demoralizing influences and its destructiveness to human happiness. It is admitted by some that the slave is not happy under the worst form of slavery.
The crowd was a little lagging there, was it not?
Yeah, but that's not their normal outcome.
Well, another woman that's taking the cause of abolition into her own hands is Sojourner Truth. She was born into slavery in New York, but escaped with her freedom in 1826 with her infant daughter. She also travels the country speaking of the horrors of slavery and many inhumane beatings, the abuse she has suffered.
Jackson was able to attend the Friends of Human Progress Association meeting to hear some eye-opening stories.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jackson Ollinger, and I'm going to take you to the Friends of Human Progress Association meeting. We see the Sojourner Truth give her breathtaking speech.
My mother said when we were sold, we must ask God to make our masters good. And I asked who he was. She told me he sit up in the sky. When I was sold, I had a severe, hard master, and I was tied up in the barn and whipped. Ooh, till the blood run down the floor, and I asked God, why don't you come and relieve me? If I was you, and you was tied up, I'd do it for you. That was breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yes, very.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks.
Before we go, I would just like to say that I have heard of rumors of a book being written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I spoke with her briefly on the idea, but she has only started to think about a name for her story. I think she was going to call it Uncle Tom's Cabin, but you know how those things go. She might end up changing her mind on the idea entirely.
Well, that wraps up our segment on the abolition movement. Tune in next time to hear all about the up-and-coming suffrage movement and if immediate abolition really did happen, or was it gradual. From Controversy Daily, until next time, enjoy your freedom.
And here are our bloopers.
Fred, you weren't supposed to bring up the American Colonization Society. Fred, you weren't supposed to bring up... Come on.
Everyone just take a deep
They're so cool, I can't concentrate. David, Mr. Walker. What?
And its destructiveness to human... You just laughed. What?
Polyballs, okay.
You know it's hilarious. All right.
Good morning, son of a bitch! He's like,
I know.
go.
Go.
True. All right? It's not Sojourner, it's Sojourner. Get it right.
I'm pretty sure it's Sojourner. The crowd was a little... I forgot what I was gonna say.